Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Today, we want to take a look at the offensive line. We want to take a look at Matt Peart and Nate Solder specifically with a couple of interesting clips sprinkled in here, specifically Daniel Jones getting absolutely destroyed in one of them. And I have to say, a lot of people giving a lot of flack to Daniel Jones this week for his performance against the Chiefs. And after watching the whole game of film on the All-22, I watched the whole game today, spent 2 hours looking and watching and seeing what was going on. I will say this. Daniel Jones, there's a couple throws that he makes that should not have come out of his hand, but he was given a pretty tough challenge with this offensive line, man. The second half of this game is bewildering. It's sad, honestly, to watch a quarterback like him be just tossed into the fire like this. And we're still sitting here trying to figure out if the Giants are ever going to solve this offensive line. Nate Solderman, the Swiss cheese, looks at him and says, "Nah, we don't want him here. He's not with us." Matt Peart looked pretty good as a run blocker in this game. He had a couple of good pass blocking snaps, but overall, he had a couple of moments in the second half that were really, really bad. But you're going to see one of the last clips of Nate Solder is mind-blowingly disappointing. It really just hurts to watch. It's painful that he's a starter in the league, guys. It is ugly. But before we dive into the film here, Anthony, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing all right, sucky loss that we're coming off of, but here we are back again to review the film, review the game, review the Giants as well as a whole. So offensive line, you guys all know I'm a huge Matt Peart fan. I like him a lot. Loved him coming out of college. Was a great player at UConn. Great prospect that the Giants landed in the third round, 99th overall pick in 2020. So far, he hasn't seen the field very much, but these past few games, he's been forced into the starting lineup with Andrew Thomas out with a leg injury. And Matt Peart, some people think he's playing really well. Others are saying the offensive line as a whole is garbage and playing really poorly. I do think that Matt Peart so far has been a slight bright spot, and we're going to get into why I don't think that he's a complete bright spot with the way that the Giants are scheming together this offense. But one thing that I do know, main takeaway that you're all going to get from this video and probably from every Giants game that you watch, Nate Solder's washed up and doesn't have a job. He really shouldn't have a job in the NFL anymore, not as a starter. He's a viable backup, I guess, but the Giants have been trotting him out there as a starting right tackle all season long, and it's ridiculous. He is not a starting caliber player anymore at this point in his career, and sooner rather than later, the Giants should make the move and just put him on the bench. Right now, they probably can't, but once Andrew Thomas returns to the lineup, Andrew Thomas should start at left tackle, and in my opinion, absolutely, Matt Peart should get the start at right tackle. I understand he's been playing left tackle the past few weeks, but still, I'd like to see him at least have a chance of making the switch over to the right side because Nate Solder on the right side is terrible, complete turnstile, and he is allowing Daniel Jones to get pressured an unbelievable amount. So really, when you're talking about these offensive tackles, I think you're getting significantly better play from the younger of the two players.
And I actually am right on board with you on this. I think that Andrew Thomas, him coming back, should mean Matt Peart starts at right tackle the rest of the year, and it's not even a question. Matt Peart has his fair share of struggles, but he's playing left tackle. He's playing on the arguably the hardest position on the offensive line. It's not even arguable. It is the hardest position on the offensive line, and he has a couple of good snaps. He has a couple of bad ones, but altogether, Nate Solder just looks so bad. I don't even know how they justify him playing anymore. You know what I mean? Just the guy needs to retire already. It's just we're beating a dead horse at this point, We're all pointing out, even the fans that are just here for fun are seeing this and saying, he's just not good. And I must say, Andrew Thomas being out of this game, being out of the last two games, has really opened my eyes to how important he is. And if they weren't open before, and it was pretty obvious how evident he is and how important he is to this offensive line and their success, when he was on the field, they were probably 100% times better. And that's not even an exaggeration. They were 100% times better with Andrew Thomas on the field. Now, they have two tackles that can't be trusted, the entire strategy in game, their scheme changes with it, right? A lot more screens, a lot more quick outs, a lot more curls, a lot more Daniel Jones getting the ball out quickly. And I will say this, that interception he threw on the first play of the game, completely Daniel Jones' fault, but I don't even think they run that play if they have any confidence in their offensive line. And I think they're taking shots to open the game. I think they're trying to stun Kansas City early, and I think that play doesn't even come up. But instead, you'll see if you watch the game. I watched the entire thing. Anthony, pulled up a great stat. Anthony, I'll let you tell them what it is.
So true passing sets, right? A true passing set is snaps in which an offensive line pass protect specifically without play action, rollouts, and screens, with more than a 3-man rush, and with between 2 and 4 seconds to throw the ball. This gives a more accurate picture of true pass protection. This is a statistic that Pro Football Focus uses. I know not everybody loves Pro Football Focus, but this is an actual statistic, not one of their random grades that they assign to players. This is a stat that you can track yourself if you really wanted to do it. And this is a really important stat because it shows when a pass protector is in a one-on-one situation with a pass rusher, how are they holding up? How are they doing? And are they succeeding, right? So if we go over to the stats of Matt Parrott for this past week, and let's even go back to the Carolina game in week 7. In that game, the Giants had 38 pass blocking snaps with Matt Parrott on the field. They only had 6 true passing sets, which means that they were running screens, rollouts, quick outs, all of that stuff, basically the entire freaking game, because he only had 6 true passing sets. Now, he allowed 0 pressures on those 6 true passing sets, and he ended up with an 81.9 pass blocking grade by PFF, whatever weight you want to put into that. So, yes, he had a good performance last week versus Carolina. This week, they gave him a 50.5 pass blocking grade, but he only had 1 pressure on the true passing set, but he had two pressures allowed for the entire game. So this week, he only had 10 true passing sets on 41 attempts. So that's 1/4 of the attempts, right? So they're not even letting him pass protect. The Giants are scheming together the offense in a way that takes the ball, that takes everything out of the offensive line's hands. They're saying, okay, we don't want the offensive line to be what we rely on at all. We want to rely on play calling. We want to rely on Daniel Jones and the playmakers. So they're not relying on their offensive line in the passing game whatsoever, because Matt Parrott only has 10 true passing sets in this entire game. So there's only 10 times where he actually has to do his job as a pass protector, meaning that he doesn't have any running back chips or tight end chips lined up next to him. Like if you see on the screen right now, you have Nate Solder, and then to the right of him, you have Evan Engram. If Evan Engram chips that edge rusher before he goes after Nate Solder, that's not a true pass set, because he had help. So for the plays where Matt Parrott doesn't have help, there's only 10 of them on 41 opportunities, meaning that the Giants are literally just doing rollouts, screens, quick routes. They're not even giving the offensive line an opportunity to pass protect, yet still, somehow, some way, the Giants' offensive line is failing in pass protection. So that speaks in 2 volumes, right? It speaks to the Giants' offensive line being horrible, and then also the play calling not trusting the offensive line to even be competent. So it's limiting the Giants' playbook significantly because they're only allowing themselves to run specific short passing concepts and quick passing concepts. And then, of course, it's also limiting the productivity of Daniel Jones because he doesn't have any time in the pocket. When he has a pocket, for the most part, they're not even giving him a pocket because they're rolling him out. But when he does have a pocket, he doesn't have any time in it because the Giants' offensive line is that bad. So really speaks volumes to what we've seen all season long. But those statistics, I think, really highlight and point out just how bad this Giants offensive line is and how much it's holding this team back.
It's holding it back significantly. But let's jump into the film here. The first couple of clips, I tried to find as many positive ones as I could, most of them being in the run game. Devontae Booker actually looked pretty good in this one, aside from one missed block that was horrendous. But let's dive into it. So right off the bat, I wanted to show a positive because most of it's negative. Matt Peart here pulling over, opening up that gap for Devontae Booker to cut through. This is textbook. This is poetry in motion, my friends. You know, you're looking at Matt Peart pulling here, and he seals this beautifully. Absolutely, he takes that one guy and you know, it just pushes him out of the way. You know, he seals it, turns his back. That guy's not even. There's no chance. This is a great play from Matt Peart. This is part of the reason that we want him to be playing at right tackle because personally, I think the running game with Peart and Will Hernandez on the right side would have been a lot more effective than Nate Solder and Peart and Hernandez on the right side. So that's a big factor into why I believe, you know, this should be coming. We should expect to see Peart starting a right tackle in the future. But I mean, when's the last time you saw Moses show up and part the Red Sea like this? That was an absolutely fantastic analogy, by the way. When is the last time you saw Moses come and part the Red Sea like this? I mean, if we had a faster running back, that is a touchdown with ease. Unfortunately, Devontae Booker runs a freaking 7.4. He gets tackled here. But it's a nice play. Matt Peart, you know, opening up this hole. That's what you want to see. Really good run blocking rep from him right there. And I think that was one of the few positives from this game that I could kind of point to.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'll say is even at college, Matt Peart was very good when blocking in space. He was really good at getting to the second level. And on that play, this is a great run blocking snap. He does a great job as a lead blocker. And if you see there, he seals it off too. You see how at the end of the run, he's facing us, right? He's not facing where the running back is. He was facing where the quarterback was. So that's good because he sealed the defender off. So this is a really good run blocking snap. He does a phenomenal job here. And it's actually very impressive to me because this is something that people did criticize him for a little bit. They said he wasn't the best run blocker. Well, it seems like he's made some improvement. One of the main things with Matt Peart that I've always loved is his feet. I've always thought he was really quick. Now you're going to see on the film in a little while why his feet aren't perfect. But right here, this is great athleticism from a 6'8" behemoth of a man. Like, he is a mammoth out there. He's a huge man. The mountain from Game of Thrones archetype. That's literally what Matt Peart is. But he's out there moving pretty quickly and making some pretty nice blocks in the running game.
Yeah, and one thing that Matt Peart that comes with that big frame, that weight, is it's really hard to move him, right? If you're in 1v1, you're trying to bull rush Matt Peart, you're probably not going to get by him. He does have some shaky balance because of that big size and big frame, where you'll see in another one, he actually does a good job stifling a 1v1 assignment, but he's kind of moving all over the place. His lower back is moving. Like Andrew Thomas this year, the one thing that I noticed from him is that he's not leaning forward. He's not wobbling. He's balanced. He comes out, he is balanced, he's strong, he makes impact, and he stands tall, and he has his feet are connected to his shoulders and his hands. That's something that we've seen from his development this year. Matt Peart still needs that, growth, and it really just comes with action and live reps, and they haven't given it to him. And that's, part of the reason why, we're kind of been kind of battering them for that reality. But let's take another look here. So here's one that I wanted to kind of look at Nate Solder here. And I know he's looking at this outside linebacker. He really wants to help Evan Ingram. And he's looking at 54. I mean, he's looking at Chris Jones. He's looking at Chris Jones 95 right in the middle there. And I really wish he would have just helped and tried to chip this. Matt Peart gets beat around the edge. He's not really refined when it comes to speed rushes. He's really good at stopping the bull rushes and those just hand fighting straight up. But the speed rushes beat him all game long. That's been his kryptonite. What I would have liked to see Nate Solder do is at least help Will Hernandez and chip Chris Jones, because 1v1 with Chris Jones, you're losing. It's a losing battle every time. Instead, he completely disengages at the pinnacle moment. And you'll see right here. So right here, all he needs to do is just chip him. What's the harm in chipping him right here? It's pretty simple. Chip him and then disengage and help Evan Ingram on the outside. But instead, he doesn't do anything. He just puts his hand on him and he runs right by Nate Solder. He runs right by Will Hernandez. Like, this is one of those plays where it's like, dude, it's just chip him, hit him back inside, just try to throw off his balance, give Will Hernandez some help there, and then move back and try to help Evan Ingram, who actually does a phenomenal job on the pass rush on the exterior there. He does a really nice job. But Nate Solder, once again, it's basic stuff that he's not doing as a 10-year, 11-year veteran. Just help your guy out, give him a little shove. Like, you can bounce off of him and continue on. I just don't really understand what he's doing here. Matt Peart gets beat on the speed rush out the edge. Like, this is where the negatives start to come into play a little bit. You'll see a little bit more of this.
Yeah, this is a rough snap or a rough rep really for more than one offensive lineman here. This is Matt Peart getting just totally toasted on the edge. He has struggled against speed rushers. They've given him a lot to handle. I mean, his kick slide in college was really good, but I don't know what he's doing here, why it's so slow out of his break for him. Like, he gets so slow out of his stance here. And then his hand placement, I mean, he's putting his right hand out first. Like, just everything here was poor from Matt Peart. But then, of course, I do want to hit on Nate Solder, even though you've hit on him. This looks like a rookie, okay? This is just, he is lost and has no football IQ. Where are you looking? What are you doing? Why do you put your hand on Chris Jones and then just walk away? Chris Jones's hand is on Nate Solder's back, and then he's like, oh, is there someone behind me? Do I have a job to do on this play? Like, it's almost like he's just taking the snap off. Credit to Evan Ingram. Phenomenal job. He looks like a better pass protector than Nate Solder right now. Like, what the hell? How is he better in pass protection than Nate Solder? Because this is an atrocity right here. Like, what Nate Solder is doing is so bad. This is just a fundamental lack of awareness. Like, did he not know that Evan Ingram was lined up on his right side? Because he turns to block like there's an edge rusher next to him. Nate, there is a man next to you helping you block. You should be looking directly in front of you at Chris freaking Jones. Chris Jones is an elite defender in the NFL. He should be focusing on that. I don't even think that he knew Evan Ingram was to his right side, because he gets into the set. trying to pass protect the edge rusher. And then also look at Matt Parrott here. I know that this is a bad rep from Nate Solder, but the way that he's angled on the line of scrimmage is far better than the way that Matt Parrott is angled on the line of scrimmage. If you look at Matt Parrott, he's completely horizontal to the line of scrimmage. He should be on an angle. This is a really bad rep. And if you look at his feet, both of them are flat in the ground. He's completely flat-footed. He is not doing a good job being on his toes with his kick step here. This is just a job very poorly done by so many players. Will Hernandez as well. Look at that. His feet are basically twisted up. So if you look at the way, I know this is just a bad rep in general, but if you look at the way that Will Hernandez is stanced right now, and then you look at the way that Matt Skura is stanced right now, you can see a clear-cut difference in the way that one gets beat and the other one doesn't. Skura is good. That's a decent stance, right? And Billy Price, I got to give credit to him here, is doing a great job. Look at the knee bend and the ankle bend. This is a great rep from Billy Price. But if you look at the way that Will Hernandez is standing, you cannot start games in the NFL if that is how you pass protect. You're going to trip over your feet and you're going to let people blow right by you, which is exactly what happens here. He lets them blow right by him. It's just a job poorly done on multiple levels for the Giants offensive line on that rep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see. And here you're going to see Matt Purr, a positive rep. He's going to have a nice little 1v1 situation here. And he does a great job stifling it off, right? So he makes impact. He has his shoulders over his feet. He's not leaning forward too much. This is really good balance room. I really like to see this. He's really doing a good job against this bull rush. He's stifling him off. He's resetting. He's he's taking those steps back proper. This is where like he kind of leans forward a little bit, but it's okay because at this point, like the ball should be out. And instead, Daniel Jones just kind of has to take it because nobody's open. It's good coverage on the back end. But I like to see this, guys. Like, I really like to see this kind of rep. So, like, at least we're seeing some positive reps from Matt Pert. Nate Solder is just bad all the time. Matt Pert has some potential here. He has a couple of good snaps every now and then, shows the potential of what he's capable of doing. And I think that's enough for me to say he should be playing right tackle. Probably not left tackle because you have Andrew Thomas. But, you know, end of the day, like, you really just need to see some more reps for these young guys. I mean, Dave Gettleman said it. You got to let the young guys play eventually, and he completely lied to us again on that part.
Yes, we've grown quite accustomed to Dave Gettleman lying, haven't we? So, but yes, this is a good rep by Matt Parrott. I think he does a good job here. This is much better hand placement. If you see, he has one hand on the chest of the defender and the other one on the shoulder of the defender. That's perfect. That's exactly how it's supposed to be done. And when we say, you know, he's playing better than Nate Solder, it's because I haven't seen Nate Solder have many reps like this. You could say he doesn't anchor that well. He does get pushed a little bit into the pocket, but I don't really think so. But look at how much better he was coming out of that set. You know, the angle that he was on initially, and then he gets pushed out of the pocket, sure. But also, this wasn't a true passing set because there was play action. So, again, he did have some help. He was able to line up in a run blocking stance and pretend like he's run blocking for a second. But just generally speaking, that is very good hand placement and a job well done by Matt Parrott.
Yeah, as you can see, the defense completely follows that play action too. So it was well done. But he does a good job on the outside. He gives, I mean, Dan Jones has a couple yards here. Just nobody open, you know, with Tony kind of being used as a decoy, Shep, you know, leaving the game with the quad injury. It's just not much to go with, not many targets and not many receivers that you really trust, and they can't get any separation. So it's tough, especially against the Chiefs defense. It's really, really bad. But that's just the reality of our situation right now. Just so many injuries. But let's move on to the next clip here. So here, a nice little another run blocking situation for Matt Pert on the outside. He seals the edge really nicely here. See him jump out of this. So yeah, I mean, he right here, the defender's looking, he's peeking into the back, he's peeking over at Pert's shoulder, but he's just so tall. You know, that's what I like about him too. That height and that size and that frame. A lot of times defensive linemen and edge rushers will, you know, use the body and peek over to see and then disengage at the right moment. You know, they pick their timing that way. But he does a really good job here standing tall, and the defender doesn't really get a good view at the runner. See here, he's trying to peek, but he does a good job just sealing him off there and pushing him around. And I think that's another just great indication of he's taking steps forward as a run blocker. And that's a really big sign for the Giants. The Giants and Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge, all they do is say, we have to establish the run, Yet they don't freaking play Matt Pert, who's a much better run blocker than Nate Solder. So it's like all the logic here is out the window. And Nate Solder over here, I think, is really just in the boys club with Joe Judge. And that's why he's starting at this point.
Yeah, and once again, look at how Matt Parrott's back is to this camera, meaning he did a phenomenal job sealing off the defender and basically taking him out of the play. When the offensive lineman's back is to the camera in this angle, it either means they got beat horribly in pass protection or they just had a dominant run blocking rep, and that's exactly what we saw here. This is a great run blocking rep, sealing off this defender and giving the running back a lane to run.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move on to the next clip here. Okay. So here I wanted to show a nice little stunt pickup. And I think also Nate Solder got destroyed again. Let's see. Yeah, I mean Nate Solder, the guy he just gets battered, man. I mean, look at his technique here, right? He's sitting back, and just one swipe of the arm is all it takes for him to get completely destroyed. Look at this. One swipe, just bam, speed rush on the outside, a chop, and a speed around the edge. That's all it takes to beat Nate Solder. He's completely parallel to the sideline.
He's horizontal, right? Exactly. He's completely parallel to the sideline. This is, again, look at the sets, look at the angles of the offensive lineman. That will tell you everything. If his angle is that bad, it means that he just is so bad coming out of his kick slide. This is something that we did on a breakdown of like a few weeks ago, early on in the season, where we saw not Matt Parrott. We saw Andrew Thomas get out of his kick stepper really quickly and get some good depth instantly, and his angles were all perfect.
There's no
and then we saw
here.
Nate Solder lined up exactly like this. And really what it is he just doesn't gain enough depth. Like, look at how slow that initial step is. That kick step is so slow, and he doesn't gain any depth, and it puts him at a disadvantage, and it puts him playing from behind. And when you're riding the defender's hip, it's the exact same thing in basketball, right? Anybody out there who watches or plays basketball, when you ride the defender's hip, you're screwed. You let them get by you, and you're lost on that rep. It's the exact same thing when you're playing offensive line versus playing defense in basketball. You cannot ride the defender's hip, and it all comes down to footwork. This is horrible footwork by Nate Solder, and that's why he's riding this defender's hip, and it's why this is a horrible passing set.
You want to know another thing? You know what? You want to see really a good comparison? Look at the right side of the line. Look at Matt Peart. His leg is already lifted and in his set. Nate Solder is still on the ground.
Exactly. Nate Solder looks like this rep hasn't even begun yet. Like, everybody else has already taken a step. I mean, the center, the left guard, the left tackle, and even the right guard has started to. Right guard's getting a little sluggish there too. Will Hernandez struggled, but they're all out of their step way before Nate Solder. It's so key to get that first step and to really gain some depth on it and be quick. If you look at that, I mean, Nate Solder's foot was in the air there while Matt Parrott had already taken his step. So, yes, it's a great observation. It's exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're seeing the lack of speed. And when you're talking about kick steps, you're trying to get some depth there. Nate Solder is washed. Like if you want to find the perfect example of losing a step, Nate Solder has lost a step. Straight up lost a step. He's so far behind. He's so unathletic at this point in his career, I guess. He's so slow. He is so far behind this rep. Whether it's him not knowing the snap count, and he needs to know the snap count. Like he's 3 years into being a Giant. Like it's too late for him to have excuses like this. And the reality is he gets no depth. He's already beat right here. He's already beat because all it takes is one swift move, one swift chop, and this guy's around the edge because, like you said, he's horizontal. His whole body's horizontal. He has no depth. He needs to be kicked out and ready for the speed rush. And if he darts inside, be ready to re-engage and clog that gap. He just isn't athletic enough anymore. That's really what's going on here. We're just seeing the demise of Nate Solder as an athlete because he's old and he's washed. And I think that's really like the reality of the situation. He just isn't athletic enough to play tackle in the league anymore. And I don't want to see him start a game ever again. Joe Judge needs to realize that, your friends aren't going to win football games. You got to let this guy just ride the bench at this point.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that assessment.
All right, let's keep going here. So I liked this stunt pickup by Matt Peart on the outside. Really good communication with him and Skura. Bam, they move it over. Really well done. I just wanted to throw that in there because, like I said, I tried to find some positives in these clips. But this is a really nice job. Really good communication. Matt Skura never played left guard before this year. And then you have Peart, who's really only, a handful of reps at left tackle in his career too. Really nice job switching off there and giving Daniel Jones some time. And this is the play where Sterling Shepard injures his groin, and really unfortunate. The guy just can't stay healthy, man. I feel so bad for him.
I do too. It was his quad that he injured, which is actually almost worse.
Quad, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's so terrible. He just can't catch a break. Saquon too. Neither of these guys seem to be able to catch a break, and I guess that's just the story of the 2021 New York Giants, right?
Yep. It's 2020 as well, and 2017 Giants. Like it's never ends, man.
It's just a story of the New York Giants post Super Bowl 46.
Post Super Bowl, yeah. We cashed in all of our luck. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show
deal with the devil.
Exactly. Yeah, we made a horrible deal with the devil, but I wanted to show this play. Again, Matt Pert in the running game does a really nice job here. Look what he does here. Talk about a big boy. All of these bodies coming inside, and he look at the gap. I mean, Devontae Booker needs to shoot this right up the middle, right? He needs to be really hitting that gap. He stutter steps a couple times, doesn't know where to go. And right now, you have a good running back who sees lanes fast, who has that explosive ability, like a Saquon Barkley, like a like an Alvin Kamara. He's through this gap and running for a touchdown right now. It's just Devontae Booker in his 7-second 40-yard dash. Matt Pert holds up this whole gap for him, like straight up. Look at the body he puts on this. He clogs up that entire side of the line. A really great job by Matt Pert here to really hold this up. Look, there's 4 bodies on him. 4 bodies on him. He does a tremendous job. I really love to see a faster running back would have been through that hole immediately and into the secondary. But it is what it is. But I just wanted to show you guys another positive from Pert in this game.
Yeah, great run blocking from him in this game. And I mean, really the Giants' run blocking and rushing game was a lot better in this game, generally speaking. Like, I thought this was a pretty good rushing game. I thought there was quite a number of plays where Devontae Booker had some good running room and some good blocks ahead of him and did gain some good yards on the ground. So this is a good play by Matt Pert. Again, the knee bend there, how he gets low and then lifts. Really good job.
I mean, let's not talk about Skura getting absolutely toasted at the end of this. I mean, that, like I said, those defensive tackles peek their head over, and then at the right moment, the opportune moment, that's when they make their move. And he just gets boom swimmed, and then bam. Nice play there by the defensive tackle for the Chiefs. But, good running back sees that hole. And I mean, I just want to look at Devontae Booker's really movements here. Let's see. So right here, he takes a stutter step, another stutter. He takes 3 stutter steps before hitting the hole. You got to see that and go. That hole was there all day long, and I think that he really did his best work as a receiver in this game, which is kind of odd. But we'll take what we can get at this point in the season. All right, this is probably one of the most painful clips you're going to see. This is the throw that a lot of people pointed to as Daniel Jones shouldn't have thrown this ball and probably shouldn't have. But when you're getting hit like this, when your blockers are missing blocks like this, you're bound for injury, man. You're bound for trouble. Matt Pert gets toasted here. Nate Solder gets toasted here, and Devontae Booker misses a block entirely, and Daniel Jones ends up getting suplexed in the backfield.
Yeah, this is a really, really ugly rep here. I mean, so they rush 6 and they block 6, but Devontae Booker just doesn't block. He completely misreads it and misses his block completely. Like, the linebacker screams through that hole completely on block. That is Devontae Booker's man. It's man-to-man when you're blocking, right?
Right here.
They have 5 down linemen, and then they have 1 blitzer. Devontae Booker picks the wrong gap. I don't know why he picked that gap. He really should have been just going after this clearly, obviously blitzing linebacker and just made the play, but he doesn't. And that breakdown in pass protection causes Daniel Jones to make an errant throw. Yes, Kadarius Toney catches it, gains some yards, but this could have easily been a pick 6. The defender really just fell down, tripped over his own 2 feet, basically. But this is a product of poor pass protection, right? I mean, Nate Solder is getting beat here. Matt Pert is getting beat here. Look at Matt Pert. I mean, he's oh my God, Matt Pert
he's already
been
beat
position here. No, he's so poorly positioned here that he looks like he's the one pass rushing Daniel Jones. And then Devontae Booker just doesn't block anyone. It's just a breakdown on multiple levels here. And that's what we see far too frequently from the Giants offensive line.
I mean, 50% of their 1v1 battles were lost, and both of their offensive tackles lost and the running back lost. So a lot of people will point to Darius Slayton open in the middle of the field here, but there's no passing lane. Like Daniel Jones, if he tries to throw this, man, he's getting hit in the face. Maybe he could have thrown this earlier. Maybe this could have been a hot read. I think that the first read was to the right side of the field. He probably could have seen maybe that there was seen the protection of the blitzing early. But I think that exactly what happened in the first play of the game or the second play of the game for the Giants, he didn't want to throw it to Slayton because they thought that they were going to bait that. I think that's what he thought. He said, you know what? I think that linebacker is going to step right in front of this slant, right in front of this curl like he did in the beginning. I don't want to go that way. So he tries to go to the right side of the field as his first read, and just, it's just fear, man. When your offensive line isn't playing well and you make a mistake early, the Chiefs get under your skin, or the defense, covers up a play and you get nervous about it. It just starts to brew negative plays. And I think this is just another example of that. But let's keep going here. Nice play by Toney to pick up a first down. And this is the suplex on Daniel Jones. That's always fun. All right, let's see what we got here. So this, God help me here, Nate Solder gets absolutely, like, he's playing musical freaking chairs. Musical freaking chairs. He gets one arm stabbed to the ground on his ass. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. You'll see it right here in this portion. Look at this. One arm stab. He gets lifted off the ground and seated. That does not happen to Matt Peart, okay? Nate Solder is so washed, not even a laundromat would take him. I swear to freaking God, he is so washed. Not even a laundromat would take this man.
This is definitely one of Frank Clark's best reps of the season, in all honesty. Of course, he would have one of his best reps against Nate Solder, but this is a great stab by Frank Clark. This is a job very well done by Frank Clark, but this is also, I kind of agree, this is something that you don't see happen to guys like Matt Peart because Matt Peart is so long, so lengthy, and also I think that his hand technique is better. Like, you can't look, okay, right there. Oh my God, you paused it at the perfect time. I got to rewind it just a second. So if you watch, let's see, when he does this pass set, he brings his arms down to his hips for a second. If you guys can see that, that should never happen when he's trying to gain ground and he brings his arms down to his hips. Look at how wide open his chest is. This is literally Frank Clark reading this and saying, your chest is wide open. Stab. I'm taking advantage of that. This is horrible technique. So there's feet technique and hand technique, right? There's like, those are the two. If you want to order offensive line play down into two buckets, you got foot technique and you got hand technique. This is the worst hand technique possible. Your hands should never be at your hips, leaving your chest that exposed. They should be here. You should be stabbing. You should be hand fighting. You can never, ever give a defender your chest, because once they have your chest, they now control you. They will take advantage of you, and they will now have full control over you, because once someone grabs your chest, they can move you any direction they want to. They can push you. They can pull you. They can shove you. This is a horrible rep from Nate Solder, and this is why I've been saying for so long he is such a liability for the Giants' offensive line. He should not be out there when he's making plays exactly like this one. Your hand should never be at your hips as an offensive tackle, and you should never leave your chest that wide open and exposed to a defensive lineman to take advantage of.
Yep, straight up. I mean, this right here, any good offensive tackle would have seen this exactly, right? So right here, he puts that arm out. You just, like you said, you want to have your arms a little higher. That way you can bat that arm away. You know, like, be reactive, like, be proactive. He's waiting to get hit. He's waiting for the guy to engage him before he engages the defender. And I think that's where Andrew Thomas has been so great this year in terms of reacting, but also being proactive and engaging first, being physical, going into those blocking situations and those pass blocking reps with physicality and aggression and strength, but also being reactive when they're using a speed rush on the outside, or, you know, whatever it might be. Like, Nate Solder is giving him the easy way, and he just lifts him off the ground with one freaking hand and puts him on his ass. And that really wraps up this film session, guys. This was, like I said, some good from Matt Peart, a lot of ugly from Nate Solder, some ugly from Matt Peart as well. But altogether, this offensive line couldn't stop anything, right? Literally, it's just bad, straight up bad. Nate Solder needs to be benched. Matt Peart needs to move to right tackle ASAP, Rocky. It just has to happen, guys. But I hope you enjoyed this film session with the Fireside Giants game. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify below as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants video.